Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sri Tips here. What I have here is the gold bar that we recovered from the jeweler's bobbing compound. It's very close to 3/9 fine, just like it is. We're going to add this to our beaker. And now what we'll do is add a stir bar. And we're going to pour in some hydrochloric acid, about 150 milliliters. This little dot here is the 3 grams that we recovered in part 5 of that bobbing compound series. And what I'll do is going to have some platinum in it, and I'll add that to my next batch of carrot scrap. Right now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of nitric acid to this beaker, maybe about 30 or 40 milliliters or so. And then we'll put this up on the stir plate and begin stirring. Now I'll add some heat and we'll see if we can redissolve this gold bar and repurify it. Alright, we still got a ways to go to dissolve this. I'm adding about another 100 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. Here you can see we've got just a sliver of the gold ingot left to dissolve. So what we'll do is I just added that extra hydrochloric acid. Now what we'll do is I'm going to add a few drops of sulfuric acid. Take care of any lead. Shouldn't be any in there, but it's a good practice to add sulfuric acid anyway. And now we'll add one more shot of nitric acid. Continue to dissolve this 3 milliliter dose of nitric acid. Get the rest of this gold to go in solution. I've allowed the gold solution to evaporate all the way down to a syrup to drive off any excess nitric that was in our gold solution. And now what we'll do is add some hydrochloric acid to rehydrate the solution. And then next, we're going to add some ice to cool it off. Looks like there's some pieces of metallic gold in here that came out of solution when we evaporated down. That's okay. We'll get those out of here. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this solution through this filter. I'll just rinse these down into the filter and retrieve them later. While I'm waiting for the gold to pull through the filter here, what we'll do is I've got some ferrous sulfate that I've prepared in advance. I'm going to add a little hydrochloric acid to it, see if we can get it to green up for us a little bit. There it goes. Definitely something in here. It's pulling through the filter very slow. So it's a good thing we did this repurification. Get the contamination out of this gold. Jeweler's scrap usually always ends up having some undesirable material in it. And so the gold that we recover from that jeweler's scrap will need to be repurified. Got everything pulled to the filter. Here's our little button of gold that we recovered, 3 grams from part 5. And now if I can get these little pieces, and we'll put them in here. And we'll add this to our next batch of carat scrap that we refine. Now let's get the gold solution into this clean beaker. There's our gold solution. Looks real good. Let's get it in here now. Now what we'll do is we'll precipitate out the gold with our ferrous sulfate solution. I'm just going to add it right on in. Alright, here we go. We're going to pour our ferrous sulfate. This has been filtered and it's reagent grade ferrous sulfate. It's going to add it straight into the gold. Let's see if I can get this camera angle right here. Alright, let's see what we got. With a stannous chloride test. Got a little piece of filter paper here. Dip it down into our solution. Oh boy, we still got a bunch of gold in solution. Looks like we need to make some more ferrous sulfate to complete the precipitation. I've got some reagent grade ferrous sulfate crystals here. I'm going to add these to this beaker. Now what we'll do, turn our heater on up here. I'm adding distilled water to the ferrous sulfate. I'm going to set it up on the heat and try to dissolve this. Let's give this a stir. This dissolved very quickly. I haven't had it up on the heat very long here. I love this reagent grade ferrous sulfate. Doesn't have a bunch of junk in it. Now what we're going to do is add some of this to our remaining gold in solution. See if we can get the rest of this stuff to precipitate out. Here we go. Let's do a stannous test. Still see a slight bit of a stain there. Not much. Let's add a little bit more of our ferrous sulfate. Give it a stir. And we'll let this settle out. See what we get. Let's try another stannous test. And there you can see all the gold has now been precipitated. And I'll save this ferrous sulfate for a future video. I've allowed this to settle completely. Now what we'll do, there's the gold down on the bottom of the beaker. I'm going to pour off this waste solution into my stock pot. Here's what the gold looks like so far, precipitated with ferrous sulfate. I'm going to rinse this a couple of times with some hydrochloric acid. I've got some ammonium thiocyanate. Add a little bit of this into a couple of cavities here on the spot plate. Ammonium thiocyanate is a sensitive test for iron. I'm going to add a little bit of the hydrochloric acid that's yellow into one of these cavities here. Test for the presence of iron. If there's iron in there, it'll turn red. As you can see, it's kind of a pinkish hue to it. I'll get a little bit of this solution and add it to the ammonium thiocyanate in this cavity, and it should turn blood red due to the presence of iron. There it is. This is a known sample of iron from our beaker over here, because we used ferrous sulfate to precipitate the gold. So we know there's iron in there. And this is a positive test for iron. The hydrochloric acid really didn't turn red at all. I mean, it looked a little bit pink at first, but now it just looked yellow. So I'd say that the test tells us that we don't have any iron in our hydrochloric acid. So that's the yellow color is probably from chlorine. Now I'm going to continue to rinse the gold over and over with hydrochloric acid and some water rinses. Here's what the gold looks like. Very, very nice. I'm going to rinse a little bit more with some of this hydrochloric acid. I'm going to add a little bit more hydrochloric acid to the gold in here. That's about 100 milliliters. A little bit of sulfuric acid. Just a few drops. And we'll cover this up. Set it up on the heat. Now we'll add some nitric acid. Form aqua regia in the beaker and redissolve the gold. Here we go. I think I'm starting to get familiar with this evaporation process to denox. When the gold starts sticking to the inside walls like that, that means we've got it down to a syrupy consistency. I'm going to rehydrate now with a little hydrochloric acid. And if I don't see any fumes evolving, then that means we've got this denoxed and all of the excess nitric has been expelled. And I think that's the case here. I don't see any fume production at all upon adding the hydrochloric acid. So now what we'll do is we'll take this down off of the heat and let this cool down. It's been allowed to cool somewhat. And now what we'll do is add some ice to precipitate out any silver chloride and to cool it and to dilute the solution. Shouldn't have any silver chloride in here, but that's one of the reasons we add ice to the gold solution. I've got our solution cooled off with some ice. As you can see in the background here, I've got the SO2 gas generator set up back there. I'm going to add a filter. Now what we'll do is filter our gold solution, and the gold is going to be free of any sediment. I mean, this is the third refining, but we'll go ahead and filter it anyway. Let's get set up here to do the SO2 gas precipitation. precipitation. I've got a clean beaker. We'll transfer our solution into this clean beaker. Let me cover this up. This is our pure gold solution. I'm going to get this out of the way and get our SO2 gas generator back here configured. We're going to add some stump out, which is sodium metabisulfite, otherwise known as SMB. Use a bamboo skewer to poke it down into the funnel if it gets stopped up like that. Now we're going to rinse the funnel out with some distilled water and make a slurry out of the sodium metabisulfite down in there. Alright, let's remove our funnel here. A little bit more water. Now what we'll do is grab our addition funnel. This is full of sulfuric acid. It's vented so that it doesn't create a pressure differential between this addition funnel and the gas generator. I've installed a clip to secure the plug for the top of the funnel. What we'll do is put another one down here in this joint between the flask and the funnel. I had to adjust this clamp. It was in the way. Oh, there we go. Now we've got that clamp that holds the funnel to the flask. Let's hook up the delivery tube here. What we'll be doing is discharging the gas out of this flask down here that has sulfuric acid in it. We're going to bubble the gas through the sulfuric acid down here to cool it and clean it, and then use this discharge tube to direct the gas into our gold solution. Here's our gold solution, nice and clear. I'm going to try it in this small beaker here. What I'm going to do is turn on the gas flow now and start generating some SO2 gas by allowing some of the sulfuric acid to drip down into the slurry of SMB in there. There we go. Why is it moving so slow? Oh, there we go. Oh, too fast. We don't want it going that fast. You can see down here we're making gas because we got it bubbling through here now. We want to make it at a controlled rate. So I'm going to adjust the drip up here a little bit. Alright, there we go. We've got some gas flow going. Now what I'll do is we'll go ahead and dilute this solution because this reaction works better when we have a dilute solution. And now what we'll do is take our gas generator tube, delivery tube, stick it down into our chloroauric acid solution and watch. Alright, we just started the gas flow. It's been going for about 15 seconds now. Notice we're getting a color change in there. It's going to go almost completely clear right there. And then it's going to cross over and you'll start seeing the gold coming out of solution. That's incredible, man. That just looks awesome. You can see the gas being generated through this bubbler. Oh boy. Alright, the gas is coming out too fast. Let me turn this down a little bit. It's bubbling too vigorously. Gas generator got going too quickly. Slung some of the gold solution out of our reaction beaker here. If you notice inside, you can see a color of purple around the inside of the beaker there a little bit. And color purple is the color of gold. Got the gas, or the sulfuric acid still dripping in a little bit. Not too fast. There we go. Alright, our gas flow is slowed way down. Let's get some of this solution on our piece of filter paper. Test it with stannous, make sure we've got all the gold to drop. You can see by that negative stannous test, all the gold has precipitated out of this solution. Shutting off the flow of acid down into the gas generator. And now what we'll do is get the delivery tube out of here. Notice that there's gold clinging to it. Take this out and set it aside. This material that splashed out, just wipe it up on a piece of paper, add it to my paper storage. I'll break the connection between the generator flask and the sulfuric acid flasks so we don't suck a bunch of sulfuric acid back over into our generator flask. Here's our gold. It's been allowed to settle completely. It looks beautiful. The nice thing about the SO2 gas precipitation is that it produces some of the purest gold, because we don't have any salt in here now. We use the gas to precipitate out the metal. So what we're going to do is pour off this waste solution. Since we use the gas, we don't have any chemicals in here to rinse off. So I'm just going to rinse the gold over and over with some distilled water. And here's what our gold looks like down inside of our beaker. Beautiful. I'm going to use our Sunday go to meet and melt dish. Transfer the gold into this melt dish. Get this excess water out of here. Now let's take our melt dish over here to the melt table. Look at that gorgeous looking gold in there. And we'll go ahead and commence to melting the gold. Here we go. Here's our little gold ingot. High purity gold. Stamped it up with the Three Tips logo. This came out really nice. No traces of contamination. Triple refined. Let's see, we got to wait for a weight on here. We've got 14.6 grams. And then we've got some pieces left over in here that we'll add to our next batch of carrot scrap. A couple of chunks of gold flew out of the melt dish, and then these little pieces here were left over from when we dissolved it, and then the 3 gram button from the previous videos. But this will conclude the video. We'll offer this up for sale on my eBay site. Opening bid will be 99 cents. I'd like to thank everybody for watching.